Faces of Death is a 1978 mockumentary movie that was considered the first viral video before the internet existed. I recently watched the 2026 version of Faces of Death, where they give you a little bit of backstory of what this movie was. This movie is directed by John Alan Schwartz, and it was a collection of home video and travel video of executions and animals being killed, and it's basically being narrated by Dr. Gross, a coroner, and it was pretty gnarly. I mean, even the first, maybe I want to say the first hour or so was just animal deaths, you know, like lambs at the slaughterhouse, chickens, animal nature videos. I mean, everyone's seen something along those lines of like a jaguar grabbing a creature or something from a safari video, or it's kind of that nature. And then they get into the weird autopsy stuff and some cruel animal stuff. It's a really icky movie. I had to look away a couple times, even for today's standards. It almost came out 50 years ago. But what was really funny was that everything in the movie was fake. So this movie was the sort of forbidden, taboo, video nasty that your mom and pop rental shop or your mainstream rental shop would keep under the table, and you have to pay extra in order to rent it. It was probably the personal copy of the guy who works there and not the shop itself. And you'd have to, like, you know, almost like pornography tapes back in the day, or DVDs in the rental shop. Well, it would be before DVDs because this is the 80s. But basically, yeah, it was one of those underground kind of movies where it's like, you can't watch this. It's not for children. It's not for teenagers. It's forbidden. It's gross. It's you know, just a collection of snuff and accidents and grisly stuff and people getting shot and all that. And then you find out none of it was real. It was all hype, and it worked because the movie was made on a shoestring budget, but it made 35 million in rentals approximately. I don't know how accurate that is, but the movie itself is pretty boring though. Besides the animal deaths that affected me, the rest of the movie's pretty tame. It's just a collection of this and that and some stock footage, and it's a lot of voiceover. It just pontificates on the nature of death, and it's not that interesting. And what's even crazier is the director made like 6 of these because they sold like gangbusters. So sometimes marketing hype does really sell the movie in itself, but this movie is also like a time capsule of something that was really hyped up, you know, in its time. Same with most found footage movies or mockumentary movies. You watch them when they come out, they have more hype, right? Like the hype behind the Blair Witch Project. I watched that movie on VHS a couple years after, and the internet obviously existed then, but it wasn't like proven that it was fake and everything. And this was before we found out that the film company screwed over the actors. So there's a lot of hype in that movie. Same with Paranormal Activity, the 2007 film. It had when they did a pre-screening, they filmed the crowd audience reactions for the marketing. They really hyped it up. Same with Cloverfield, another 2000s found footage film. That one was sci-fi horror, but a disaster film. But really, sometimes movies are they're the best when they come out, and after the hype dies down, after, you know, I didn't watch Cloverfield in the theater. I watched it on DVD, so it wasn't as effective. But I watched the Spanish film Rec, the Juan Balaguer film, in theaters at like a film festival. That was amazing. That was just like one of the most visceral, exciting experiences I've ever had in a theater. And, you know, sometimes these movies have a certain shelf life because, you know, seeing in theaters for starters, but also, you know, almost 50 years later, Faces of Death, you know, has been debunked. It's been, you know, it's rather tame by today's standards. And I'm glad that the new movie didn't try to just redo the same thing, because it's harder to fake a movie being real now. I mean, they did with Cannibal Holocaust, so realistic in the 70s, but technology and internet and cell phones, things like that sort of stop the whole fake viral marketing thing. You have to kind of pivot and do something else for marketing now. Some movies, they're like time capsules. They don't withstand the test of time. So Faces of Death is definitely one of those movies where it's maybe it was the bee's knees back in the day, but now it's kind of just like eh. So I give the Faces of Death 1978 a 4 out of 10.